Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links first released in September 2016. It didn't get its international release until a few months later, but since then, every September, a new Duel world has been added to the game. In 2017, we got GX World. In 2018, we got 5D's World. In 2019, we got Dark Side of Dimensions World. 2020, we got Zexal World. In 2021, we got Arc V World. In 2022, we got Vrain's World. And in 2023, we got Seven's World alongside the new Rush Duel style of dueling. We can look at all these worlds and we can see that they all have one thing in common, that they are based around all of the different anime releases. Dark Side of Dimensions is basically just the original world's sequel, but apparently the in-world is more based on the anime and the DSOD movie is more based on the manga. I haven't read the manga though, so I can't really speak on that. The thing is, at some point, Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime are going to stop coming out. There is one more anime that hasn't been giving a Duel Links world yet, Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush, the second anime based around Rush duels, and that may very well be the next world to come to Duel Links. But what happens after that? Are we just going to stop getting worlds after there aren't any more anime series to adapt to the game? And speaking of Go Rush, normally by now we would have some leaks about it, but we don't have any leaks at all, leading some to think that if we're ever going to get Go Rush World, it won't be this year. Some time ago, Loom made a video talking about how Duel Links is eventually going to be pretty much done for because it won't have any more anime to adapt, because at this point there seems to be no sign that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to have any more anime series. But this idea makes a bold assumption. Reasonable assumption, but bold nonetheless. This idea assumes that the continuation of Duel Links relies on there being a new Duel World every year. If there isn't a new Duel World, can Duel Links continue? Well, if we look at what a new Duel World provides, it's always going to have multiple new unlockable characters all at once and new stage missions. We do get a new box at the same time, but getting a new box is something that happens without new worlds, so that's nothing special. Hypothetically, if they were to just release 4 new characters at once, and let's say add 30 new stages to GX World for example, that would do the exact same thing as a new world drop. And that's just one way of doing it. Let's say hypothetically, each world gets 1 new character at the same time, and each world gets 10 new stages. I remember when I first finished GX's stage mission, it said that if we waited, more stage missions would come, but no stage missions ever got added to GX. Maybe they were just waiting until we had all of the anime worlds first. To be honest, it doesn't actually matter how Konami chooses to make us play more during September. At this point, they have late September as a traditional Duel Links celebration of the game's history by adding a bunch of new content all at once, and there were so many ways that they could think to do this that it wouldn't matter if it involved a new Duel World or not. That said though, Duel Links running out of anime to add to the game reminds me of when Vrain's ended, and the TCG and OCG couldn't just rip cards from the anime anymore. For most of the Yu-Gi-Oh's history, there have been a large percentage of cards that were unique to the game and weren't even in the anime. However, there's also been a large percentage of cards that were from the anime, and so when the anime stopped, it had to go to 100% of the card releases not being anime cards. But even though there weren't any more anime to print cards from, Yu-Gi-Oh still kept going. The continuation of Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't tied to the continuation of the anime. They have been printing a lot of anime support, though this anime support was never in any of the anime. It's just cards to help existing anime strategies. But for the most part, Yu-Gi-Oh has been printing lore-based cards. If you keep up with the TCG, OCG, or Master Duel, you might have seen some of these lore deck types. They started doing lore deck types before the Vrain's anime even ended, but when it finally did, they focused way harder on it. This goes all the way back. You know, Ice Barriers and Shadows are lore archetypes and they're from the same lore, and you'd be surprised how many archetypes are from that lore. But today, you see a lot of characters existing in multiple archetypes because these archetypes are related to each other in stories. If they can move away from focusing on anime and instead focus on lore focused decks, then I think it's possible that Duel Links could release lore characters as playable legendary duelists in Duel Links, with gate rewards and level up rewards that support the deck types that they're a part of. For example, Girsu could be a playable character with level up rewards that support Orchist. Aurum could be a playable character with level up rewards that support Crusadia. Maybe even Ray could be a playable character with cards that support Sky Striker. Maybe they could make a duel world based on the Duel Spirits world. We see in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's, the duel monsters all have souls and they live in a parallel dimension called the Duel Spirits world. If we had that as a duel world, then we could get the main characters of some deck types as characters. Funnily enough, we have been able to play as card spirits in the game before. The obvious one is Yubel as a playable character, but in some events, we've been able to play as Tour Guide from the Underworld. We could have a whole Duel Spirits world where Tour Guide is an event character we could unlock to to finally play at after she has been such an iconic character in Duel Links for the game's whole history. There is still a whole bunch of anime content left to add to the game, enough to last us years and years, but once we finally run out of anime content, we can very easily have lore-based events where we can get lore characters and lore cards from a Duel Spirits world. Imagine we get to play as Maiden with Eyes of Blue and she has specific voice lines when interacting with Seto. That would be pretty insane. Speaking of Seto, wouldn't it be interesting if we got a whole Duel world focused on ancient Egypt? There are a decent amount of characters from that time period in the original series, and I know Konami would happily take any opportunity to pander to fans of the original series. It might even make sense lore-wise for Duel Links to be available for ancient Egypt. Seto Kaiba's Duel Link system, as we know, has the ability to transcend time so that people from the original series can duel against people from GX and 5Ds, for example, even though they are from different times. And we know that at the end of the DSOD movie that Seto time traveled to ancient Egypt to duel against the pharaoh. Although maybe he traveled to the Egyptian afterlife, it's not exactly clear, but either way, perhaps he could have connected wherever he went to the Duel Link system so that they could duel with modern day duelists. While I was editing the video, Konami dropped a couple of important announcements that we should talk about here, because this September we aren't gonna be getting a new world. That much is confirmed for sure. Instead, we're getting an ominously ambiguous huge update in early October. This could very well still be Go Rush World, of course, even though we still don't have any leaks for characters from that show. However, as we discussed, it could be anything. Another announcement we got said that there's gonna be a new minimum Android version required to play Duel Links at the end of September. Why does this matter? Well, requiring a more powerful device to be able to play the game means that Duel Links must be getting some type of update that validates this increase in power. You know how Duel Links released in 2016 and it looks like this? While Master Duel released in 2022 and it looks like this? Clearly Master Duel is a much more modern design, and that makes sense because a lot of time had passed since Konami released their last big Yu-Gi-Oh game on smartphones. I think it's possible, and honestly, I think it's about damn time that Duel Links is gonna get a visual upgrade to modernize it. This is only one possible explanation though. There could be so many other things that Konami has planned for Duel Links, and it doesn't have to be a new world every year for the game to stay fresh. I know all of this sounds like the ramblings of a madman, but the point is, if I can sit here and think of a bunch of ways the game can go on without new anime series without getting paid to do it, then the people who are literally getting paid to do it can think of ways to do it too, and probably even more ideas than me. But hey, that's just a theory.
Okay. Hey, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the Weatherman. I ain't ask them to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake but it ain't on me. Got clean so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast. For